Okay.
Good evening, dear friends.
Good evening. Good evening. Good.
I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like a kid in a candy store, and this sugya is unbelievable. And I just keep on making more revelations. So it's, the story that I told you yesterday about Nebhila Moshe Meshel Gelbstein, that he got someone came to him that Tzemach Tzedek told him in the year sometime before his petita, but that many years later that he's going to decide to move to Eretz Yisrael, and also this guy Moshe Meshel, and he should tell him that in Hey Tevis he's going to have a revelation, and I'm Emes Meretz Titzmach and Nachmodim is of Mipazrov. So I wondered, like, did I ever read the story? What did I ever think about this story? So I'm looking, it's amazing. Today you could find everything, every truth a person gives out by a chasana gets uploaded on Machaya. So I found there was a truth of a chasana with grandchildren, like descendants of the Moshe Meshel. So apparently the Rebbe was very mechazik the family to publish the Sefer. I will send it out as Mana Mekoimis. I don't want it, the time is short. You'll read it to yourself. There's some explosive things about Mashiach and Tzemach Tzedek, things I'd like you to read on your own. This guy thought that Tzemach Tzedek about what as a chosid of the Tzemach Tzedek, what he thought of the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe said about the story, he wrote about the Sipurim Mavhilim. Interesting. The Rebbe said, like, wow, Sipurim Mavhilim. Just like, when I read the story, it was like, wow, I can't believe that the paper will hold ink that'll tell such a fantastic story. Tzemach Tzedek, years before, he didn't even know he'll move to Yerushalayim, and he sent a shliach and said, you'll be from the Levim. That will be Machzed Avodah. Unbelievable. And Hey Tevis, this Gilu will come to you. The Tzemach Tzedek said it 20 years before it happened. It's like unbelievable. Anyway, the Rebbe had the Rabbi Klein said that the Rebbe had the Sefer on his table around that year, Tov Shalom Beis, and by Suda Shabbos, he looked into it several times. So apparently the Rebbe liked the Sefer, he looked at the Sefer. There's many more connections and thoughts. Just interesting that this guy wrote, he had a lot of memorim from the Tzemach Tzedek that he wrote. And the Rebbe asked that they should send it to him. And once they sent him a certain Ksav Yad, the Rebbe said, but this doesn't look like the other Ksav Yads. Is it really from a Moshe Meshel? I mean, you know what? I'm going to upload it. I'll send it to you. Many other interesting stories there. I don't want to waste more of your time.
See, Erev Tisha B'Av,
What? Okay. So just before we start, I want to point out one more thing that is about guarding the Beis HaMikdash. As we said, the Gros says in the beginning of Mesachas Tamid, or maybe I didn't say it, so I'll say it now. The Gros says in the beginning of Mesachas Tamid that the reason of the mitzvah is in order to make sure that Zor doesn't enter the way the Pashas Apsukim in Pashas Kodesh, which we spoke about yesterday. The Eden said, "Hey, tamnu l'dvoya, kol hakorev korev, misken Hashem yomus, hey, tamnu l'dvoya." Rashi says, "Shem ufkarnu l'mitzvahs." The Abisha said, you know what? The Abisha said to Moshe to tell Aaron, "Atav v'nechitoch." It's your responsibility. The Levim will also be there. It's your responsibility to guard. So the guarding is not that. Now, if that's the reason for the guarding, obviously l'choyed it's shayach also b'zman hazeh. So before I start, today I'm just going to go through, I made to myself a list of 10 points against the idea of the mitzvah today. In other words, that Moshe Meshel wrote a sefer that today this mitzvah applies just like in the Zman Abayis. And the Minchas Luzer wrote a sefer against it. There's a tshuva from the Avnei against it. And there's back and forth. I'm going to summarize 10 of the reasons against the Moshe Meshel, and Lani's Daiti 10 answers to defend him. You will make your own decision. I'm not making decisions for you. Before we start, just a fascinating historical thing, which is that if you go to the Koisel Maravi today, right, and you go in with a bus or with a car, and today you can't really go in the car, and that you're going from the Shtara Ashposis. You drive up. So there is an archaeological park right there. Over there is where you have the Dorim wall with the double wall that's stuffed up, the Shari Chulda.
What?
You have the steps that the Euler Regel used. There's a fantastic, archaeological park. And when I take my children there, I usually take them there. And fascinating. The last time we were there, we were only people in the park, and there was some Israeli TV station that was filming. So they asked if I could blow the shofar because they wanted to put him on a film. So I said, Gesundheit, can I keep the shofar? They said, no problem. You can keep the shofar. Just blow shofar for us. They told me which station. They said, you watch it tonight. It wasn't a movie. It was a series about. They said if you go on television tonight, they told me which station you want. I had no time to go watch it, but anyway, it was fascinating going with the children there every time. It's unbelievably fascinating. So they found hundreds of mikvahs, and it shows you about the whole thing of the Yidden, how they were Regel, and it just makes it alive. So I love taking the children there. We usually take our children there before they bas mitzvah. So there is a place where there is a rock. It's just a replica because the original is now in the Israeli museum, where it says on the rock. In other words, they don't know exactly where it was. It was obviously, this is here from the time of the Churban that was buried, and it was later Israel Antiquities revealed it. But there was a rock, a big rock, an impressive rock, and it's written on it. Ish nochri lo yikonis lefnim machitza makifa hamikdash ulachatzer hamukafa. Mi ish sheyetofes yischayev benavshoy v'dinoi lamisa. Big sign, big rock, carved in the rock. In other words, any goy that passes beyond this point will be killed. And this is mentioned as a historical fact by Josephus in Sefer Melchames, that he says that even the Romans respected that, and they wouldn't walk past that point, and they actually allowed any guy that was caught beyond that point. They had no problem, even if he was Roman, that he was put to death. So, with no further ado, let's get into the sugya.
You can still see that stone. You can still see that stone.
Right, in the Israel Museum.
It's in the museum in Istanbul.
That stone. The stone in the cave is in Istanbul. This stone is also in Istanbul.
Yeah.
I think this one is Israel Museum.
No, it's in Istanbul, and it's engraved in Greek and in Latin. Exactly what you said.
Oh, sorry. So then I made a mistake. So you're telling me it's in Istanbul. Okay, interesting. Fine.
Like I say, it's in Greek and in Latin, so that the guy can read it.
Right. So the guy could read it and understand. You have to tell it to them in their language. Okay, shkoyach.
We just said in the Likra Shabbos from this last week, they found a vessel that the Kohen used to use for Pora Adumo.
Right, there was this thing, but it's very hard to know. The
Mishnah is a name for that.
A kolol. They said they found
they find it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Emamish, it's like the Tzemach said. It said it's emes meretz titzmach. It doesn't matter how much the Arabs don't like it, but the Vaila, there's not been one discovery underground there in the Har HaBayis, something that's to do with Muhammad or something that has to do with the Notzer Mimach Shemam. It's all Kalim from the base Hamikdash. It's emes meretz titzmach. If the guy want to know, that's it. The emes kipshute emes meretz titzmach. You just move a few grains of soil in the area of the Har HaBayis, and all you get is pieces of the first and second base Hamikdash. Okay. So tonight we're focusing on the special mitzvah, which is one of the 613 mitzvahs, counted as one of the mitzvahs, is Pedic, which is the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash. As I said yesterday, in the psukim, there's a long arichas. I mean, thinking about, you learn the whole Yodedeya, Basa Bachalov, it's 3 half psukim. The mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash is a lot. It's mentioned 3 times at length in Parshas Bamidbar, and once at length in Parshas Koirach. So this mitzvah that is the first Mishnah in Maseches Tamid, the Maseches Midos. The Yehuda HaChossid said that there's certain Masechtas like a mace mitzvah. I think Maseches, so the Rebbe revived Maseches Tamid. Maseches Tamid, even yeshivas, Lomdish yeshivas, they're learning Zvachim and Achas, Tmura, but not so much learning Maseches Tamid and Midos. The Rebbe made a big thing of learning, and the truth is there's a moedik geshmak, a lomdus, like every Masechta has. There's a tremendous amount of lomdus in Maseches Tamid and Maseches Midos. The first Mishnah in Tamid and Midos is about this mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash. It also occupies the 8th Perek in Hilchas Beis Abchira L'Rambam. So, as I said, the year 1870 moved to Eretz Yisrael. His name was Reb Hillel Moshe Meshel Gelbstein, and he was a very colorful fellow. He was a moedik Talmid Chochem. He was a Talmid by the Kotzke, by the first Mandel of Kotz. He was a Talmid of the Tzemach Tzedek. He was a Talmid of the Chidush Harim. He moved to Yerushalayim. He was a Chav of the Rashash, lived in his house for 40 years. Reb Shalom Sharabi. He was a Chav to the Bishmol Salanta, to the Torah's Chesed, and Rabbi Shur Leib Diskin. And he was a Moedik Talmid Chacham, Ba'ohuv. He was the one that really brought back the idea of davening 3 times a day at the Koisel Hamarovi. There's actually I was reading just now, before I went on this, Machon HaMikdash put out recently a book about Shmiras HaMikdash, 250 pages. In the foreword of the book, they say that the people used to come say a little bit Tehillim, based Tzara, but this whole idea, this whole notion of the davening at the Rechvas Koisel Amaravi, according to the Machon HaMikdash, was really, the one behind it is Reb Moshe Meshel Gelbstein. So he published eventually a sefer, over 100 pages, called Mishkanos Labir Ya'akov. And the main thesis of the book is that how come we're not doing this mitzvah? We should do this mitzvah today to guard the Beis HaMikdash. We have to do this mitzvah today. It's a mitzvah saseh. So many Gedolei Yisrael agreed with him, and he started the project. And the historical facts, and we spoke about already on Shabbos, and we'll leave it aside right now. But the inyan, is it true? So there was one tribute of Aבני which said no, he didn't think that was the case. And then there was a sefer called Oilas Tamid, also a pretty big sefer written by the Minchas Elazar against the Moshe Meshel. I want to go through 10 of the main tainas and defend the Moshe Meshel. As I said, I'm not an arbitrator here. I just want to defend the Moshe Meshel. And you will decide for yourselves. The point number 1 we spoke about yesterday, just from the Kitzur, that the Minchas Elazar says that there's a special mitzvah that's in the pasuk. It says that the mitzvah of Moed Mikdash is even after it's destroyed. And the fact there isn't a special pasuk that tells it by Shmiras HaMikdash and cover the Mikdash is a raya that it's not, that this mitzvah doesn't apply after the Zman HaBayis. So my answer is simple. Number 1, there's many Moedim mitzvahs, including the Bahag and the Smag, that count. Moed Mikdash and covered Mikdash is 1 mitzvah. Even according to the Rambam, 2 separate mitzvahs. Why can't you learn one from the other? The Rambam says, "Lo me'amikdash ata yoreh, elo me'mishet tziva al yeroseh." The yid is not from the building; it's from the Eibishter. If l'gabe moed mikdash, the Eibishter says, "Afa pishe shayim mikdash shasen heinoimed," and therefore memela you have to have moed for the smoke and the. So why shouldn't you say the same thing for the kovet? Okay. Next, there was the diun that we spoke about yesterday. What is the reason regarding for guarding? So the Aבני says depends. If you're guarding shelo yigam v'akelim, that's not shaykh b'zman hazeh. But if you're guarding, shelo yikones zor, shelo yikones goy, shelo yikones tamei, so that is shaykh b'zman hazeh. So that is shaykh b'zman hazeh. Now, I must say that the second reason is more to the point, and that's what the Grot says in the beginning of the Maseches Tamid. But I would say glad that that if you want to go lahalocha, if you live with the Rambam, which is there's not many poskim that wrote halachas for Beis Abachida in an organized way, as a halacha, not as a pirush or Maseches Tamid, but as a halacha, which is so. If you want to go with the Rambam writes that it's covered. So I said it was like an honor guard, like, you know, the guards at the Buckingham Palace. It's not Shmira Meganovim. There's other Shemrim that are Shemim Faganovim. It's a Mishmar Kovid. It's a Mishmar Kovid. So that L'choyre should apply B'zman Hazeh. And we went through yesterday L'choyre Akasha and the Rambam. And the Rambam learns it from the Sifrei. It's Akasha and the Sifrei. L'choyre it's Mefedish, the Gross Gerecht. It says in the pasuk that had a taina'im tamna legoya. Everyone could stand close to the shvil. If they push you in, that's it. You get chayim misa. What is it? So the Eibishter said, "Ato v'nechat tisu esavayin hamikdash." It's you're responsible to guard that the Yidden shouldn't go in, Azor shouldn't go in, and shouldn't be in the chayim misa. Okay, so I think we explained it adequately yesterday. After the shiur yesterday, last night, I was looking in the Sifrei, and I think that not some I said the right pshat, but I said I think what we came up with is mamish. I was reading the Sifrei. The Sifrei says like this. The Sifrei says in Parshas Koirach, Gedoyla lemikdash sheyesh alav shaymer. The Gewalt of the Beis Hamikdash that it has Shemrim. Moi doime palteidin she'ein olav Shemrim, le palteidin she'esh olav Shemrim. She'nemar, v'achoinim lifnei ha-mishkan keidma lifnei oyel ha'moed, mizracha Moshe v'Aaron ha'vonim, Shemrim mishmeres ha-mishkan. What's the She'nemar? How do we see this in this pasuk? And why is it the Sifrei in Parshas Koirach all of a sudden is quoting a pasuk in Parshas Devarim, Bamidbar, not... What's going on over here? So I think the Sifrei is saying, Azoi, L'choyre, the command was long ago, before the story of Koirach, the command was there, and before the Yidden Tainit. Furthermore, the Sifrei is saying, what is the Gemara talk in the beginning of first daf in Talmud says that how do we learn the mitzvah, or specifically how do we know that they have to guard a Moshe, which is a Levi, and Aaron, which is a Kohen, in two separate places? It's from this pasuk in Bamidbar. Gemara says, how do you know it's in separate places? Because it says Vachoinim. I mean, they camped. Moshe and Aaron didn't live in the same tent, as you understand yourself. So just like Moshe and Aaron didn't stay in the same tent, they didn't live in the same tent. The Shemitah was in a different thing. The Sifrei said that from here we see that the Mishmar was not they shouldn't steal. It was the Mishmar shall covet. Moshe is right now in his tent. Aaron is in his tent. How could they guard that no one should steal? How should they guard even that Azor shouldn't go in? They're in their tent right now. Elamai, the Shemitah is a covet. Ein adoime paltein sheyesh olav shaymin and paltein shein olav shaymin. And l'choyre, if that's the case, so that the what's the union of a paltein? That it's a fancy castle? It's a fancy building? It's the Shechina, and that kedusha is not bottled. The kedusha is mipnei Shechina. The Shechina is not bottled. So the mitzvah should also be b'zman hazeh. Okay, third taina, which now I'm going to new tainas that we didn't speak about yesterday, which is the bum b'shayla. I mean, this is the $1 million question in the sugya. This mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash, is it a mitzvah or a avodah? Is it a mitzvah's kahuna or a avoidah's kahuna? What's the difference? Big difference. Difference is, if it's avoidah's kahuna, you have to, the kohenim have to wear big day kahuna. Avoidah's Beis HaMikdash is a kohen, which is Tommy Mace, is not allowed to do the avodah. It's also to do avodah, b'shas is Tommy Mace. We don't have big day kahuna b'zman hazeh. Well, this is a big shaila. If we have big dekuna b'zman hazeh or not, because the big dekuna need tchelas. Do we have tchelas? Do we not have it? Do you believe we have tchelas? You don't believe we have tchelas? It's a political discussion too. So, so the question is, do we have big dekuna? And the question is, do we have pora aduma to be metar the koinim? So if it's avoida, we don't have the big dekuna. We don't have koinim that are toher. So we can't do the mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, not an avoida, so it doesn't matter that they're tamei meis. It doesn't matter that they don't have big dekuna. They can wear their own pants. They can wear their own shirt. So that's the shaila. Now the Avnei Nezer says that he thinks it's an avoida. Why does he think it's an avoida? He brings a raya because it says in Perek Eches in Hilchos Beis Abchira, and the Perek that talks about the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash, Lo hoya koinim hashemrim yishenim bebigdei kodesh. They didn't sleep in the bigdei kodesh. It's also to sleep in the bigdei kodesh. Mashma that when they were not sleeping, the shemrim were wearing the bigdei kodesh. Is a raya that it's an avoid and you have to wear bigdei kodesh. First of all, I don't see the mashmos as being so slam dunk. Second of all, it could be that the whole harabayis it's tachmuta to wear anyway. So only in Medina the Gemara says it's a chay. So Rabbanan said it's also shalom b'shas avoda. But here, even though this is not an avoda, but for it's a mitzvah shimur. Chazal said you could wear it. Many ways to for this, but the emphasis takazoi. Is it an avoda or is it a mitzvah? It's a shayla.
The pashut, if a kohen wearing this big tikkunah, it's like a uniform. People know. When he told you don't go over there, you listen to him.
No, it could be that they'll have special uniform for them, but not the big day, the dalet big day kahuna, not the dalet big day kahuna.
They couldn't wear anything else, and while
Let
they
them
do the
wear
avodah.
fancy red stripes with the big black hat with the fur on the top.
They weren't allowed.
They have to wear big day kahuna.
They weren't allowed to. Only when they go to sleep, they change the clothes.
When they go to sleep, they took off the big day kahuna.
Right, that's the only time.
Otherwise
you must have the Kohen clothes.
Okay, so I'm saying, I don't know if this diuk in the Rambam is so strong, but theoretically, is a shaila. If it's a mitzvah, then they're not chayiv to wear the big day kahuna. Maybe the Chazal let them wear, because the Gemara says, if you wear a big day kahuna in Medina outside of the Beis HaMikdash, you're chayiv. Chayiv nisa.
Right.
Inside the Harabayis, it depends. You have a Shas Avodah, Shalom B'Shas Avodah, but it sounds like it's a Derabanan, Shalom B'Shas Avodah. But could be that Rabbanan said, okay, so we're the begotten when you're doing the Avodah. I'm saying the diuk in the Rambam is not such an earth-shattering diuk. The Rambam never said that they're supposed to wear big day kahuna. All the Rambam said was these words: Lo yoya koinim hashemnim yishenim bebig day kodesh. Mashma, when they were not yishenim, when they were shemim, they were wearing big day kodesh. Could be that was the mitzvahs, but not that they're chayiv. Maybe this man hazeh, you could have shemim with red suits and brown hats. Meichi tasted the chayiv to wear big day kahuna. If you're saying the chayiv to wear big day kahuna means that it's a avoida and we can't do it bisman hazeh. There's a
pasuk in the Torah that ubezos yavo Aaron al hakodesh, like with the clothes. The Torah says exactly how we should wear. It's like a mefurish.
But if this was only a mitzvah and not an avoida, then they're not chayiv to wear big day kahuna. And then you could do it bisman hazeh. If you say it's an avoida, they're chayiv to wear big day kahuna, and you can't do it bisman hazeh. We don't have big day kahuna bisman hazeh. We could make big day kahuna, but the part where you don't have the tchelis, there's other issues. So that's one issue here that he says. Okay, so the emphasis azoy. The emphasis adova poshet lachoida that's totally on a certain shaila. The Mishnah says that the Rubin, the little children, used to be shomer. The machloek is what's Rubin. Some Rishonim say under the age of bar mitzvah, and some it means under 20 years old. If you say it's under bar mitzvah, it's under. If you're going to say it's a mitzvah, and the Rebbe's chidush is that even under that there's the Ish Harabayis, there's no Hesach Hadas, it's a Godel, it's like a little child is baking matzah, and the Godel Loimed Al Gabav, the Tziru for the Machshevas HaGodel, the Mais HaGoten. Avoida, it's very schwer to say that avoida the Beis HaMikdash can be done by someone under Bar Mitzvah. It's sehr schwer to say. If you hold that the Roibe means younger than Yud Gimel, obviously it's a mitzvah, not an avoida. And Kemat, it's mefurish that way in the Sifrei. The Sifrei says that Matal Mudloimer L'Mishmeres B'nei Yisrael V'zman Sha'kotten Shemer HaGodol Pesei Alav V'zman Sha'Godol Shemer Ein HaKotten Pesei Alav V'nichtmas. So we're talking about cotton and Godel. What is cotton? Cotton doesn't mean under 20 years old. Cotton means under Bar Mitzvah. So if you say that there were Tanim under Bar Mitzvah doing it, it's schwer to say this was an avoid in the Beis HaMikdash. Cotton was doing, they let a cotton do an avoid in the Beis HaMikdash. It's a leitzach. Just a leitzach. It doesn't make sense. So that doesn't make sense. Help the Eibishter that there is a Geshmak Roget Shover. The Roget Shover says like this. I didn't send it out in the sheets yesterday.
I thought when the little children in Yom Tov, when they do Birkas Kehanim, right? There's a tzivui deoraisa, the Kohen should mevorach bnei Yisrael, and you see the little children are going with the father to do the avodah, and it's avodah. It's a chiv deoraisa to bench.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but it's a separate.
They cannot go by themselves.
It's not called an avoid in the Beis HaMikdash.
They can't go to the duchen if they are young. But if the father go, then they could go.
Kohen Tomei is allowed to duchen. He doesn't have to have big duchen b'shas duchen.
They don't have actually.
Right. I don't know if it's a faket. I don't know if it's.
No, I'm saying there's a minion and there's only a little Kohen. You're not going to let him duchen. But if there's a father, a Kohen, and the little kid is with them, then you let him.
It's called an avodah. You're asking arvich boy. I don't know. You're asking a good question. The Roget Shover says, Parshas Nase, it says, by the Mishpachas HaKohosi, Kol HaOivet Bo'el Moed. Also by Bnei Merari. I'm sorry, by Bnei Gershom. By Bnei Merari, it doesn't say Oivet Bo'el Moed. So the Roget Shover, Sefnes Pnei Chal HaTorah, the Bnei Merari, they were shoymri. That's not called an avoida. The Shmira is a mitzvah, not an avoida. So again, the Roget Shover brings a raya from a pasuk that it's a mitzvah, not an avoida. So that's that one. So many Rishonim say it could be under Bar Mitzvah. The Sifrei says cotton. And the Roget Shover is mechich from the Lashon HaPasuk that Shmira is not an avodah. It's a mitzvah, not an avodah. Number 4. The Aבני says, you're going to say, okay, the Kohanim can't do it b'zman hazeh, but the Levim should do it b'zman hazeh. The Levim there's not shaykh to say they need big dekuna, Tomei, Toher. Anyway, some of the Levim are supposed to be outside the Harabais, by the 5 gates of the Harabais, right? So let's have the Levim do b'zman hazeh. So he says, no. Why? He says like this. The Gemara sagt doch in Erchin, the Gemara sagt amais. Darf you down from the base? My son to be sure about Hananya. Shaholach let's say about Goff's losses. He wanted to help his friend, the Yochanan ben Gudgada, to close the doors. To lock the doors. There were two groups among the Levim. It was Meshorim that are singing songs, and the Shoyerim that were opening and closing the gates. And the Gemara says that Shoymesh Shoyer is Chayav Misa. Ba'azora, Misa. It's a Shoymesh Shoyer Shoyer is Chayav Misa. So says the Sochet Shover like this. we find the Gemara that the Mishmoras Kahuna wasn't bottled after the Beis Hamikdash. That's why a kohen that knows this Mishmor has a problem drinking wine because maybe Mashiach is going to come. A ganze Geruder in the Gemara, whole shackle a kohen, if he can drink wine bisman hazeh. We say a kohen that knows doesn't even know if he has a Mishmor, takanosa kalkalosoi, takanosoi, that he could drink because he can't serve it, so he doesn't know which Mishmor he is in. But we see that the idea from the Gemara is the Mishmoras are not bottled. Says that Shmuel and David the Melech split Levim 24 mishmaros. So he gave them jobs. Some are mishoyed him and some are shoyed him. Any Levi today doesn't know is he from the shoydim or is he from the shomrim? Is he from the shoydim or from the shomrim? Any Levi you can ask today to guard the Beis Hamikdash, you're putting him into a situation. He might be chayiv misa. It's a suffix chayiv misa. How do you know? Maybe he's from the families that are mishoyed. They're supposed to sing, not to be from the shoydim, from the gates. And he says shomrim and shoydim is the same thing. He brings it eyes from sukkim and shomrim and shoydim are the same thing. So therefore, you got a problem. Okay, but what should we do? I'll answer the taina very fast. And I found later that Mishkanas of Ya'akov defends himself. And he says it. He's right. The Rambam says in Peda Gimel in Hilchas Kliya Mikdash V'Oivdim Boy. So the third Pedic is dedicated to Levi. Said Levi Kula moved the Lavodas HaMikdash. Avodah Shalem Hi Sheyir Shoymrim Es HaMikdash V'Yihu Mehen Shoyarim L'Ftoyach Shar HaMikdash U'Lahagiv Dal Soisav V'Yihu Mehen Mishoyarim L'Shoyar Al HaKorban B'Chol Yom. So again, their avodah is to guard, and from them some are shoyarim and some are mishoyarim. So shoyarim are not. There is shoyarim and mishoyarim, but shoyarim is a separate thing. Mefurish in the Rambam. Health day, there's a Rogat Shavat that'll save the day. The Rogat Shavat saved the day. I was learning it this morning. I was mamish. I was unbelievable. Azag Yishmak Torah from the Rogat Shavat. Unbelievable. Sorry I didn't send out today's notes, but I'll read it. It's not much.
Isn't it says that the Levim will be Koyanim?
Yeah, exactly. So good, but it's going to be Levim, right? So the shaila is, the Gemara says, shoyer, sheshoyed is chayim misa. So how about the shomrim? So from the Rambam I read, it seems to me that every Levi could be shomrim. Among the Levim, there are some that are mishoyedim, and some are shoyedim. Those two avodas you can't mix up as chayim misa. But shomrim, all of them could be shomrim. So I helped the Eibishter, unbelievable. It's dripping with honey. The softness paneach is in Pashas Nosei. The pasuk says, "Eile b'kud mishpachas bnei Levi kol oived bo'el moed asher poked Moshe ve'Aaron al pi Hashem." A few psukim later, "Eile b'kud mishpachas bnei Merari asher poked Moshe ve'Aaron al pi Hashem." Biyad Moshe. So frek the Balei HaTosfos, why is it by Gershon it says asher poked Moshe ve'Aaron al pi Hashem? And over here it says the same thing, asher poked Moshe ve'Aaron al pi Hashem. Biyad Moshe. Why over there doesn't it say Biyad Moshe? And over here it says Biyad Moshe. Akasha. Dr. Rogat Shavet. I tell you an answer. Very simple the answer. Very simple the answer. Moshe Rabbeinu was from where? From Gershon Kahos Merari. Amram was from who? Kahos? Correct or incorrect? Amram was from Kahos. So Moshe Rabbeinu's family of Kahos were they were Meshoyadim. They were singing. Gershon was Shoyadim. They were with the gates. Is Moshe Rabbeinu, who is a Meshoyadim, is he allowed to do the gates?
What do you get?
This Bazelo Yevshel Moshe Shiamon. The Meshoyadim Shashir Chayav Misa.
Where do you get
But
this?
when it comes to Mishpachas Merari, which they are Shoimrim, like it's Mefurish and Eish Perek Aleph the Tamid, so das given biyad Moshe. Das given biyad Moshe. In another place that I remember, the Rogatchover says it like this, very simple. He says, Rashi says that Moshe was a Meshoyed. The Gemara says clearly in Tamid, in the first daf, that Moshe was a Shoimer. Achoinim Kedma, Moshe, Aaron, and Ugona. So how could Moshe Rabbeinu be a Meshoyed, singing, and also a Shoimer? These two avodas, you said, Meshoyed, Shashir, Chayev, Nisa. So how was Moshe Rabbeinu allowed to do the two things? Again, the Gemara says in the first half in Talmud that Moshe Rabbeinu was a shomer. And then Rashi says in Erchin Yudalet, Af Yudalet, Moshe was a meshoyder. So how could it be? It's the chastida. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? One or the other. If you do both,
Moshe was a Kohen, he went down level to be a Levi.
No, we're talking about in avodas halevi gufa. There's Gershon Kohasim Merari.
First of all, where do you get the notion that Moshe was a Mishover?
Huh?
First of all, where do you get the notion that Moshe was a Mishover?
Rashi says it in Daf Yud Aleph and Erchin.
So where does he get it
You could
from?
disagree with Rashi, but if you agree with Rashi, then Rashi says in Daf Yud Aleph and Erchin that Moshe Hoya Mishoyder, and you also agree with the Gemara in Talmud, the first Daf, that Moshe Hoya Shoymer. So 2 and 2 ain't 53.
So Rashi doesn't say where he gets this from.
But Rashi can't argue in a Gemara Meferesh in
No,
the first Daf in Talmud.
No, that Moshe was a Mishover. Where does he get that from?
Oh, look in the Gemara in Erchin, Daf Yud Aleph.
Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, who says that the machlaka between Mishovarim and Shovarim was hereditary?
I'm going to send out the Tzafnas Panech. You look inside. But, I mean, just this question. If Moshe was a Meshoyder and also a Shomer, it doesn't make sense. How could he be both at the same time? So the Rogatchover says, from here is a raya that when the Gemara says that the Meshoyder and the Shoyer can't mix, that's only the Meshoyder and the Shoyer. A Shomer is a separate cheshbon. Every Levi had the right to be a Shomer. If you were a Levi, it didn't matter, Gershon, Kohasim, Merari, you had a right to be a Shomer. Between these two other avodas, which is Meshoyer and Meshoyder, that was a divide. And some were this and some were that, and you're not allowed to mix. And that's what he answers in the Pshat and the Pasuk. That's why by Gershon it says, Asher Poked Moshe V'Aaron Al Pi Hashem, and it doesn't say Biyad Moshe. Because Moshe had no right to be doing the gates, because he was a singer, he was a Meshoyder. But when it comes to Bnei Merari, which were they, or Shomrim, so then Abiyad Moshe was also allowed to do it. Faket, Moshe was the Rosh Shomrim, like the Pasuk says, Moshe V'Aaron Ubon of Shomrim Shmirat HaKodesh. The Gemara learns it from in the first daf and time. So we see from here that Shemitah is a separate thing. Doesn't matter that there's different groups in the Levim. Some are Shoyer and some are Mishoyer. There is taka that you're not allowed to mix a Shoyer to become a Mishoyer or the other way around. But Shomer, everyone is allowed to be Shomer. All of them are allowed to be Shomer. Kasha. Again, what's his kasha? His kasha is that Levi that does his wrong job is Chayiv Nisa. The answer is simple. That's only between a Meshoyer and a Shoyer. But Shomer, everyone is allowed to be a Shomer. Everyone is allowed to be a Shomer. If you're a Levi, you can be a Shomer. Number 5, Ambuad de Sifri. There's a sefer Ambuad de Sifrei, Pirush in the Sifrei. He says it says Befedish in the Sifrei and in the Gemara that the Karnim were the main thing. I mean, that's what the Pasuk says. That V'nil Bolecha and the V'shar Sucha, that's the Shedus. The main thing was Atu Vanacha, and the Sifrei says Befedish that they were a tuffle. The Ikar was the Karnim, and the Levim were merely at the V'nil Bolecha, like the Sifrei. Yitoflu alecha. So he says, if you're going to say that the kohenim are mechuyev to do it as an avoida, and they can't do it, how could the ikar be a bottle and the tofel still go on? I don't know. I don't think it's such a stira, it's such a kasha. And the befrat, according to the Rebbe's chidush, that the Rebbe said that mitvos is the kohen the ikar. Why is the kohen mitvos is the kohen the ikar? If a zor gets in, that now we have to whip someone, so we're going to whip the kohen 10 times and the Levi only 1 whip. For every 1 whip the Levi gets, the kohen gets 10 whips. Mitvos is the kohen the ikar. So according to the Rebbe, it's verstandig, because the ikar is it shouldn't be hesach hadas, and by day we also need shmida. It's just that the avoided that the kohenim do in the base of mikdash, that makes it shouldn't be hesach hadas. With them is the kohenim of the ikar, because they do the avodah, the main avodah in the base of mikdash. So they make the shouldn't be hesach hadas. So with them is a ikar, but bizman achurban, the kohen and the Levi are equal, because there is no avodah. If the kohen can't do it, the Levi should do it. Okay, now let's go to I covered already 5 tainas. The next 5 tainas will actually be fun. Be more fun than lumdus. More fun than lumdus. If you have the file from yesterday that I sent out, so you could look in the Minchas Aluzah and the Eilas Talmud, skip the introduction. I mean, if you want, you can read it later. It's fascinating stuff. But skip the introduction and look in the 2nd page of the Sefer. It's a page Reish Chof. He says that the whole mitzvah is a paltein sheyesh olav shomer. There has to be a palace that has guards. He's the Beis Hamikdash is chorev, so there is no palace. So how could you have guards for a palace that doesn't exist? Okay, so loy boy, according to the Gra, which is that the Shemitah is shaloy yekona zor, that's shaykh was manazeh. But even if say paltein, again, the Rambam says loy min hamikdash ata yori. You're not yori from the bricks and from the marble. You're from the Eibishter, from the Shechina. The Shechina is still there. So if the mitzvah of moed mikdash and the mitzvah of covered mikdash is for the Eibishter, for the Shechina, not for the bricks and for the walls, for the Shechina is there. So I don't see the taina of the Minchas Aluzah. As I said, the Rebbe says that the tainas of the Minchas Aluzah easily you can push away. So I think you see it's taka easy. And the next taina, the Minchas Aluzah, which is this next taina is in the same page, a little lower. He says you're going to say let's put up a couple of guards. He says no, but everyone's going to think that the guards are there to guard as an honor guard for the mosque. There's a whole arichas. He said when the Crusaders were there, they built a Rachmana Litzlan Tifla, a church. Are you going to tell me that even then, when there was a church in the Harabayis, the Yidden were mechuyev to stand guard there? Again, let me ask you: if they have now guards standing around, they have with the schwarze kapottes, weiße Zucken, and a Streimel. That's going to be the costume. Streimel, at the very nice, I love it. You know, with those shoes that open up as 3/4, with the weiße Zucken, with the shine bändel, gemacht von shine, with the fancy material, and these are the shomer standing all around the Harabayis. And they come again a television crew, and they're taking a video of the Harabayis. You think accidentally someone's going to say, they're going to show it somewhere in Arkansas, and they're going to say, oh, wow, there is 24 Jewish men guarding around the Temple Mount. They're honor guards for the mosque. And one guy's going to say, I'm not sure which mosque, the mosque in the Solomon Stables, or is it which mosque are they the honor guards for? Do you think that is really going to happen? I don't think so. I think every goy versteht that when there's 24 men standing there with weiße Zucken and Streimel, and they're guarding the Harabayis as an honor guard, that they're not guarding the mosque. They're guarding the Mokem HaMikdash. Okay, the next Taina, which is the, let's go to number 8. Next page of the year, page Rishon Aleph. He says, Im ki adanu v'shamanu shehoya arav hanal zatzal godul b'toyre v'chosed godul, that Moshe Meshel was a big chosed. Ava b'mechila tvoi terasa yamafle b'dvarim, v'gam nikir lakoyre b'chivura yirvu v'dvarim. That Moshe Meshel was like a mixed-up guy. He was a mixed-up, Moshe Meshel was a mixed-up Mechel, he says. So, I must say he's right. The Mishkanas Rabbi Ya'akov was not written in a very organized way. He got him as at his Achilles' heels. The Minkat Sharuv is unbelievable. When he writes, I mean, it's geschmack. But still, just because you don't know how to argue your argument doesn't mean that you're wrong. He says, he says, how come we didn't see all Gedolei Yisrael in 2,000 years doing it? Zarai that it's not a mitzvah. That's the time of the Minchas Aluza. So, you know what I'm going to say. What am I going to answer to this Taina? Huh? What am I going to answer for this Taina? Sorry, one second. Let me get. Could you say it a little louder? Right. Yeah, I hear. Exactly. But the truth is, you could also answer, like I mentioned, Shabbos by Mincha, by Shalosh Udas, that for many years it was a Pasha Pikuach Nefesh. Like the Rebbe said in Pasha Shmini, Tov Shenun. What kind of time is this? For hundreds of years, what are you going to put? You put 24 Shemim there? How are they going to be Shemim if they'll be killed immediately? So what kind of Shemitah do you have? Is there a mitzvah b'chlal to have Mesidus Nefesh and this mitzvah? Is this one of the mitzvahs of Yeharig? It's not one of the 3 mitzvahs Yeharig. But in Azman, when you could do it, that's the Shaila. So it should be Chayiv. The fact that they didn't do it, that Israel didn't do it, the fact that Rambam didn't do it, but what's the Taina? That's not a Taina. That's not a Taina. That's not a Taina. Let's go to Taina number 9. Taina number 9 is on page Reish Chav Gimel. Masha Hevi b'Sefer Mishkanas Rabbi Ya'akov Rayim Loshen Sefer Hakona. There's a Sefer Hakona. All Shaila, who wrote Sefer Hakona? It's a Sefer Kadman. Who wrote the Sefer Hakona is not clear. It's a very ungenuine Sefer. So he wrote, how do you know from Naseres Adibris, how do you know the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash? It's Kabbat Zvicha V'Simecha. And when a Yid is covet of Aviv Shebashamayim by guarding the mitzvah Mikdash, the Eibush protects the Yid. He says, Shaloi lahash b'shemiras Aviv LaMikdash kadei sheshmiru l'mayla. It's mashma that mitzvah is forever. So he says, what kind of right is that? In the time when there's a mitzvah, then okay, so that's a shtickle ataina. I think the Mishkanas Rabbi Ya'akov also understands that that's not a raya pi halacha from the Sefer Hakona when he says it. He just wanted to bring out the gewalt. When the Yidden are mekayim the mitzvah lamata, it's Malamayla. There's a special shmira on Klal Yisrael when the Eibush says, "You guard the Harabais, and I will guard you." The 10th taina is Omna Masha Kosu b'Sefer HaNisker. Fit Hama Grosh, Pirish Meseches Tomit Bezed Hashem Shlo Yikon Hashem Zorim K'Mefurish Parshas Koirach. Al Pi Ze Himtzi HaSefer HaNisker Sheshlaham Shem Gamat Hashem Shlo Yikon Zorim Et Mei Meisa. The Bazeh Hainu Moire Migdash B'Dashos V'Nei Gamat. V'heri Sham Amalach Nisim Chaptzayim L'Shem B'Churei Kois Lamarovu Portz Shem Protzes. In Bezeh Yesh Mamash V'Tam B'Dvar B'Tzakosei וצקסנו קודמו ולצקוסי, דובר שנצטר באויסה צדיק אדוני מוירי ברבי, בשומוי, ממרחק בצובח, מאשר דוב על ליבי, כעושה המונים להם סגולה, והיא באמס מייסה תאבל לכבוי יסיידס בקויס למרוב. וגם נתלש מעבונה במקצס כמובן בו. ועושה להם סמך כלו שאין בממש, the apostle says, "V'takata Yosef b'makom ne'emet." Al yidei havaleim kilu yas kam alav in the reise b'mezid v'resha. It used to be this. There were people that thought it was a sgula to take a thing and knock a metal nail into the wall of the Kos Lamarav. He says, "Chas v'shom, you're breaking. It's hektish. You're breaking it. Mishagas." So he says that, but you don't need guards for this. The Bezin Yerushalayim should be, but you don't need guards for this. You don't need guards for this. The emes is that you do need guards for this. You do need guards today, less than it used to be, because there are very few Yidden want to go up today to the Harabais because the Arabs, it's dangerous. But there are Yidden still today, not religious Jews, that's in this book about Shmiras HaMikdash from the Mochan HaMikdash. The author of the book writes in the foreword of the book that for many years he stood guard with other friends and he would warn Yidden that were secular, Rahman al-Islam, say secular, but not yet religious Jews, and tell them about not entering the Makam HaMikdash, and even if they enter the Temple Mount, he would tell them where they're not allowed to walk and where they're allowed to walk. And they were very receptive, he says. There was many Yidden that he saved them from Rahman al-Islam being over Isur or going into a Makam where Yechayev Nisa. So yeah. Mitzvah Shem Sunday we'll talk about this shaila about entering the Makam HaMikdash in the Temple Mount. So we'll leave it because we're a little bit out of time now. So I just wanted to go through, as I said today, 10 tainas against the Moshe Meshel. And to defend him. To defend him, so we went through 10 tainas against the Moshe Meshel. And I think we tried at least our best to defend him. As I said, each one of you will decide if it's taka mitzvah that you're mechuyev to do. Definitely, beruchnius, it won't hurt to do the mitzvah. The Minchas Aluzah says a beautiful word, and I mentioned the Shabbos. It says by Yosef HaTzadik, when he said the dream, it says, Father, secretly, ba'oviv shomar es adov, mitzapa biyacha. When is it going to happen? Oviv shomar es adov. We have to do the mitzvah of Shmiras HaMikdash, Beruchnis, Shomar. It's dear to us. All the mitzvahs about building the Beis HaMikdash and establishing the Beis HaMikdash, they have to be very precious to us, very dear to us. That we're waiting ready for Mashiach Tzidkenu to come and that we want to do the mitzvah. We're waiting and we want to do the mitzvah. We're already looking at the Minchas Aluzah. I'll let you go with just 2 pieces, one on page Reish Chav Daled and one on page Reish Chav Hey. And now you'll know the motivation that the Minchas Aluzah had to write the Sefer to the first place. You see, his tainas are not so strong. It's noita that really it is a mitzvah, perhaps, even after his man abayis. There is a mitzvah on that. So why did the Mincha Cheruf publish a whole sefer against the mitzvah of guarding the Beis HaMikdash even today? So the secret is revealed later in the sefer. There's a little point that I want to make. It's not a little point. I think this is the point. I'm not going to read the next word. You read it on your own. Darkom Kessel Alom Beomram Kiesh Umias Bisrael Bilti Shmiras Teres Hashem Vegam Kiyisku Lords Biyushav Eretz Yisrael Bilti Mashiach Tzidkenu and they is Koizus Rachman al-Islam Biyishu Oilam Mashamotzalam Oim Bedivri Yishalmi Shabbos Hamikdash also Libanos Kedem Malchus Beis David. He says not true. The Rambam says Befedish and Mashiach has to come first, and then we're building the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, that's point number one. So you see his motivation in writing the Sefer. In other words, even though he didn't suspect that a Moshe Mashal and Zionism, but he was scared that if you're going to have 24 men with Shtaramlach around the Harabayas, that this is going to be like sort of an endorsement for the idea of Zionism. And someone in Shul asked, what? The Minchas Haluza was so against Zionism? He put the Satmar Ruv in his back pocket. I look at the next page, page Reish Chafei. He says, I'm Prim Godem Oirachayim. Go a little earlier in the page. He says, Agam, 3 lines on the top. Agam Mekodim was of a Mashah, Kosov, Shia, Yishuv, Yerushalayim, Kodim, Shivak, Shemalchel, Beit David. Mashah writes that there is already going to be a Yishuv Yerushalayim before David HaMelech establishes his kingdom. Hainu, a Yishuv Shal Tamid HaChachamim, V'yideh Shemayim, B'matzav HaKoilalim, K'moshe Atta, V'loya Yishuv Shuchur Ben Al-Yedei, HaPrutzim, HaTzionisten, Shechilalu, Le'ir HaKoidesh, B'Veneseinu Arabim, Ad Shoel Tachtis, Rachmon Al-Itzlam. V'rak al-Yedei Tshuva Shenosher LaToyra Niskel HaMalchus Beit David. V'lo Yedidish Kishav HaKoifrim Ha'elu. V'gam Adoimim Lohem. Kittas, Shoynois V'roes. There is terrible kittas. You know who they are? Mizrachisten, Yishtovisten, and Agudisten. It's all b'chadam b'achta. It's all in the same breath. Mizrachisten and Agudisten. They're equally evil. You get that? You get that? Mention that to next time you go to Landau, Sadav Mincha. Mention it to Rabbi. What's his name? The Secretary General of Aguda here in America. What's his name? The lawyer. Shmulik, what's his name? The little trimmed beardle. Anyway, mention it to him. Show him this page. Lo yutzmach Yeshua mahem lachen bnei Yisrael amitim ki gam hem medavim b'har b'dvarim roim l'machshavas hatzionisten ובפרט בלימוד החוכמה זוהר לצוות הספר שלהם שרויצים ליעשו בישליים עיר הקודש ועם בפרימה גודם הרחיים סימן טוב קס"א בשם הרב הקודש גרשן קיטבה גיסא של רבנו על שם טוב הקודש. Fascinating. He brings from the Prima Godem a word from the Gershon Kittever, the brother-in-law of the Baal Shem Tov. Shabo Yerushalayim berabba shel vos amim yoshvim bo. V'omer shezel shemrim beroisi kol yir. Yerushalayim shel mata agashmi al tila b'noya v'yira lekim Yerushalayim shel mayla mushpeles at shel techtia. Sham nikar achurban v'ashiflus. He says, I see that the Shalayim Shalamata is already, they're building houses, they're building buildings. But, oh, Rabbi Zwiebel. Oh, thank you very much, Yoel. Yeah, show this to Rabbi Zwiebel.
Thank you.
So he says that when you see that the Shalayim Shalamata is already built, but the Shalayim Shamaylu, the Ruchnistik Shalayim is destroyed, that breaks the heart. Says the Minchas Haluza, "V'zeh pirashti mashakosa b'bichas hamozon, uvenei Yerushalayim ira kodesh b'meira b'yamein. Ki lo metzorech l'tar Yerushalayim ira kodesh. V'alei godel shema yir belvad shenavakish livnoisei. Alo lo nimtzonu oid Yerushalayim ache b'chutz la'oretz shenitztarech lichnoisa lozu b'simin ira kodesh." I mean, you see how the Minchas Haluza had. He had a pen that was like flowing. It's like. It's unbelievable, the language of the Minchas Haluza. He says, what do you mean Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh? If you just said Bnei Yerushalayim, you think a city, Jerusalem, that's somewhere near Bethlehem in Maine, or maybe in Vermont, Jerusalem, Vermont? What would you think it is? Rak shal zer romzu shenevakish sheyiboni Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh chelak hakedusha. That they should be rebuilt Yerushalayim Ira Kodesh, not the Yerushalayim which is Shalmata Chas v'Shalom from the Zionisten, the Agudisten. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. V'im Hashem lo yivne bai shavam lo boinav bo im Hashem lo yishmerir oy lakach shekach also b'meina ve'en dai bayad ve'en dai oyla v'har b'naydis esroiv hataevet zvarisas shasu samim. I don't have enough paper to write everything I have to write. This sefer itself is 100 pages. Umashin es yastum aviseinu v'biseinu hakoidmim b'koilulim ligvis remeir balanes to toishve eretz hakoidish and l'man yaske b'teres Hashem shama v'akaponim misheinu barochiyam atilim. ולא כדרך הישתוויסטן שקוראים וישב ארץ ישראל, ולא דרכם דרכנו כבר התפסתי as Horus, I already printed a whole thing נגד הישתוויסטן והגודיסטן. Anyway, the rest I'll leave for you to read. I just think that it's important to get into this Yerushalayim. This, I think it's a beautiful word. Uvnei Yerushalayim, Uvnei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera, Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera b'Yemeyera, Ayo b'nei Yerushalayim, Uvnei Yerushalayim.
It's a Shlomo Kalbach song, you know.
Okay, so what we can sing?
No.
You also with the Goodist and the Zionist?
No, I'm not.
Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera, Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera b'Yemeyera, Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera b'Yemeyera. So let's summarize tonight's shir. This is a sefer Mishkanas Ya'akov that he says that this mitzvah saseh shmiras hamikdash applies to Zman Hazeh. There is a sefer from the Minchas Eluzah to shlug him up. We went through 10 upshlugs from the Sachet Shaver and the Minchas Eluzah, and we tried to for 10 out of 10 tainas. If it's really a mitzvah b'Zman Hazeh b'pashtus v'nat tishbi yitaretz kushis habayis, but there's no question that that's going to be one of the first things he's going to have to answer. That's one of the first things he's going to have to answer. And in the meantime, by the fact that we're learning, so we're doing the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash, and as I said, the Tov Shenun, the Rebbe said that at least Beruchnis, every one of us has a Mikdash Me'at, and we have to guard our Mikdash Me'at. Like I said yesterday, we got to guard this thing is called Tzaruma, B'chol Zov, B'chol Tamid L'Nefshes, is trying to Krich Harayin into the Har HaBayis, which is the Jewish neighborhood, into the Yerushalayim, which is the Jewish neighborhood, into the Har HaBayis, which is the Jewish home, and in the Azora and the Heichal, which is our own body in our pockets, in our eyes and in our nose, and we're not allowed to. We shouldn't allow it. We should have taka good guard. Some of us need it. We need technologies. We're using now Zoom to do this shiurim, but we have to do a shimur, shmiras einayim, and do it in the strongest way. And the Eibusher shall help from taka. Then the schus of our learning this that we dedicated ourselves this week to learn the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash, that we should be zeicha very soon to do the mitzvah Shmiras HaMikdash b'Poel Mamish, and like the Minchas Eluzah had gesagt, that we should be zeicha not only to the Yerushalayim Habenuya, but the Ir Elikim should be nikir in the Yerushalayim Shalmaila, should be nikir in the Yerushalayim Shalmata. We should be zeicha to see Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh b'mheira v'yameinu.
Amen.
Ovenei Yerushalayim, Ovenei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh b'Yemeyera, Ir HaKodesh b'mheira v'yameinu.
Maybe that's why the Nigun Shmiras HaMikdash was every time we're verbringen by the Rebbe.
Sheyebon Beis
Every time the Rebbe asked
V'yameinu v'sein chelkeinu b'soiros sevecha. Sheyebon Beis HaMikdash b'meira v'yameinu v'sein chelkeinu b'soiros sevecha.
Is any other Nigun that the Rebbe asked to sing and verbringen besides Shmiras HaMikdash?
Yeah.
Every verbringen the Rebbe asked to sing Shmiras.
Every verbringen. Maybe shall help from the mitzvah Yafcha Yom Eilo L'Sas and Simcha. Tomorrow we should be a big Suda Bevias Mashiach Tzedkenu.
Amen. We're looking forward.
Amen.
Okay, very good. A gute Nacht, everyone.
Thank you.